cell phone video from bystanders to create a timeline of the deadly shooting.
Moments before 7:18 a.m., a Ring camera inside a home picks up the sound of 5 or 6 gunshots. Seconds later, security footage from a nearby business shows a white car driven by Johann Sebastian Guerrero enter an intersection. At first, it's straight, but then it starts slowly circling around the intersection. We see these plainclothes officers enter the intersection. They try to approach the car on the driver's side, and then they start following it as it circles around. It appears as though they're trying to get it to stop, but it's hard to see exactly what's happening. And that continues on for about a minute with the car and the officers circling in that intersection. Then, just after 7:19, an unmarked car enters. It makes contact with the passenger side door, finally bringing that car to a stop. Then we see agents approach the car. They get there on the driver's side. A second one arriving now. We see his arms out. It appears as though he may be holding a gun, but this video is grainy, so even when we zoom in, it's difficult to see exactly what's in his hands. But then they move towards the door. This is cell phone video from a bystander. We see those officers pulling out Guerrero's body onto the ground, face first. And skipping ahead now, this is also cell phone footage. We see Biddeford police now on the scene. Officials tell me that local police were dispatched there at 7:18 in the morning, so just after those gunshots were heard. And these videos still leave many unanswered questions. What we're still trying to learn is what happened in those moments before the gunshots rang out, before we see that car enter the intersection. In studio, I'm Nora Hogan for 8 Investigate.
Breaking here tonight in the deadly ICE shooting in Biddeford. Only here within the last 15 minutes or so, the ICE officer was just newly sworn in, but had been with another government agency since 2017.
And also breaking, Homeland Security says the 26-year-old who was shot and killed entered the country illegally in 2023 and was, quote, released by the Biden administration and was granted a work permit last May.
Scott McDonald breaks down what we know and the critical questions that still have not been answered.
A day after the shooting death of 26-year-old Johann Sebastian Guerrero on the streets of Biddeford, a major policy shift. ICE has been ordered to temporarily halt vehicle stops. Multiple sources telling ABC News that ICE officers will receive new training on vehicle stops and that the pause will be temporary. Guerrero from Colombia, described by family members as a dad, a husband, and a father who is hardworking. He leaves behind a wife, 3-year-old daughter, and sister. Senator Angus King saying Guerrero was not the target of the operation. We also know ICE agents were not wearing body cameras. Issues attacked today by Senator Chuck Schumer after
Sounds like one of
fatal
those
shooting
could
by
be,
ICE in
yeah.
the last week.
It's what other people were speculating.
Involved ICE agents who are not wearing body cameras, killing individuals who are not subject to the agent's warrant. One of these two people shot at and killed.
ICE agents say they were carrying out a targeted surveillance of the last known address of an undocumented immigrant and then said an immigrant left that home in a car. ICE agents saying they tried to stop the car and claim when it tried to flee, an officer fired, fearing for public safety. Congressman Jared Golden saying the independent DHS Office of the Inspector General and the FBI are investigating. The Maine Attorney General's office also investigating this shooting death. Golden saying, quote, Mainers are understandably scared and shocked by this painful loss of life. My heart goes out to those who are hurting, and I urge Mainers to take care of one another and stay safe.
Senator Susan Collins delivers from Maine, bringing $190 million for rural hospitals and health centers. And Senator Collins co-sponsored the Halt Fentanyl Act, cracking down on drug traffickers, keeping Mainers safe. Susan Collins also voted for national voter ID, protecting our elections from fraud. Senator Susan Collins, delivering on rural health care, delivering tougher penalties on drug traffickers, delivering on securing our elections, delivering results for Maine.
Portland local news is now on Zine. Local news, local weather, local sports. Zine is where you are, where you're from, and where you're going. Zine, always local, always free.
Bonnie Bishop joining us live right now in Biddeford. Bonnie, you've been tracking how each candidate would approach immigration reform. What are you hearing? What are they telling you?
Well, Scott, most Democrats, if not all, that are vying for Senator Susan Collins' seat, so they want ICE abolished. Some of them say there needs to be immigration reform in some sort of way, but they're just not liking what they're seeing right now.
If we needed a reminder of what is at stake in this election and the need to have somebody representing us in the Senate that is going to stand up and fight for us when we are being intimidated and threatened by this lawless agency. We got it yesterday with this tragedy.
Jordan Wood, one of many vying for Senator Susan Collins' seat, says immigration law should be enforced, but not before that system is reformed. Standing outside of the office of the senator he wants to unseat, Dr. Neerav Shah, saying we need to start from scratch.
By abolition, I mean dissolving the agency and the authorizing legislation that actually brought it into being at the Senate and House level.
Paige Loud says she would vote to abolish ICE and push for what she calls a more humane immigration system.
I think instead of putting billions of dollars towards detention, we can put that towards courts and judges and lawyers who are prepared to move forward with the citizenship process faster.
David Costello, who ran in the Senate primary in June, says ICE should only be put back on the table if it's part of a larger and comprehensive immigration reform package. Troy Jackson says ICE has gone rogue, detailing how he would end the agency.
You cut off the state by having their appropriations committee not fund their agency. I mean, that's how it happened.
Dan Cleveland says we need immigration and border security, but ICE should be dismantled, calling for an investigation into the agents that were involved in Monday's shooting. And Shenna Bellows, posting to Facebook saying she wants ICE off main streets. But their opponent in November, Senator Collins, says ICE's work must continue.
There's no doubt that ICE needs to improve its performance, but those who are calling for ICE to be abolished altogether are ignoring absolutely vital safety work that ICE does.
Now, all of these candidates are vying for one spot, the Democratic nomination. They have until this weekend to submit all their signatures, and a nominee will be picked the weekend of July 25th.
Personally, myself, no, but I agree with what a lot of people in class are saying. They agree, obviously, with Susan Collins and thinks Bellows is completely out of her mind for making such a stupid statement. Yeah, so what about police? Because as we can see with police over the years, they pinpointed different areas and training programs that weren't so great. And there were some pretty horrific things going on, and a lot of police officers were arrested. I know, they're still, to this day, happens. So do we need to get police off the street? Yeah, they're totally fucking stupid. It's insane. Yeah, so of course, ICE, just like police and doctors and school teachers, should be monitored. Security and surveillance put into our hospitals and schools. I'm pretty sure that's already been done, right? Not everywhere. Private, public.
Yes, not Kathleen. We're in Portland. We're in Monument Square, where another demonstration is set to get started at about 6:30 this evening. But as you mentioned, there have been other demonstrations in Scarborough earlier today.
Yeah, so yeah, just like with police, remember how we were telling you some of the druggies and pieces of shit and activists crossing wires, investigations, feeding out child and animal abuse to investigators and activists, and got to get the cartel family. Right, so who are the targets? And you can see how wires got crossed with police, so the same thing happens within other agencies, FBI, CIA, ICE. So why are they picking on ICE? It's a dead giveaway every single time, just like talking about lizard people or flat earth. It's like, are you guys that stupid? Do you have a mind of your own? Can you think and use common sense, for real? What the hell? Yeah, and then these dumb idiots just jump on board, people being heated or upset about something and oppressed. Help the veterans. All of them or just some of them? Oh, not those ones. Yeah, oh no, those are just old drunks and alcoholics. But these ones that have been going on the bogus friggin' combat missions, feeding the machine, getting innocent people killed, serving what? Yeah, real cute. Real cute, you guys. 'Cause I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget.
When your mitochondria get damaged,
God, you guys gotta be kidding, right? It's fucking sick. People need help.
Mad, like arguing, so what's the solution? This is your self-help guru moment,
Danny McBride has come up with some of the funniest characters on television ever. He brought the mullet back.
Kenny Powers is a man. Kenny Powers is an athlete. Kenny Powers is a lover.
Now he's tapping into the spirit for his new book. It's called Thrilling Tales of Modern Men. This short story collection explores modern masculinity through a cast of characters.
There is this idea of like what it is to be a dude. Growing up in the 80s, if you're watching Rambo or Chuck Norris or all this stuff, the reality of that comes crashing down. It's like you're not gonna, karate fight an army of men and win. Sometimes you just gotta take a desk job. There's something just about disappointment that I just
And
saw
some always got that it was just a show for entertainment.
Danny, thanks so much for doing this. You're the funniest fuck alive. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful to be able to
I never aspired to be any of those
So thank you
things.
for coming all the way out here.
But I love the shows.
Congrats on the book. I'm curious around how this experience has been
What's up?
different from you. I mean, it's
Hey,
very
good
much of
morning.
a piece with it.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, but I sure hope they help these kids and hostages in Augusta, Maine. I know that. Hope on a rope.
Hey adrenaline junkies, welcome to Police Chase. Today we're kicking off a brand new series. People messed with the wrong cops, where every dumb move instantly triggers justice mode. Alright, let's dive in. Baltimore, Maryland. January 19th, 2026. Western District officers responded to an apartment complex on Park Avenue after multiple calls reported a disturbance, a welfare concern, and an armed individual. Outside, residents had evacuated due to a pulled fire alarm. Inside, an officer encountered 48-year-old Autumn Elizabeth Denny, who was yelling and holding a large knife before retreating into an apartment. Officers noticed blood in the hallway and began efforts to safely resolve the situation. Despite repeated commands to exit and drop the weapon, Denny emerged holding both a knife and an electrical stun device, refusing to comply. Officers attempted to subdue her with tasers, but they were ineffective. As the threat continued, one officer discharged their firearm, striking Denny, who still resisted briefly.
I appreciate it. Thank you. We're gonna have everything we say. He's gonna lay down. Stay down. Sir, get back on the floor. We're gonna get on the floor, folks. Get back on the floor. You're doing a good job. I appreciate it. Get back on the floor, buddy. Say no more. You're doing a good job. I appreciate it. Now we're left. You gotta get on your knees.
Officers maintained distance and continued verbal commands until Denny eventually dropped both weapons and was taken into custody. She was transported to a hospital with non-fatal injuries and later charged with assault and weapons violations. On August 9, 2023, panic spread throughout Los Angeles after police received emergency calls about a driver operating a water and power department SUV who had crashed on Laurel Canyon Boulevard. Before police could assess the situation, the suspect, later identified as Manuel Ramirez, 28, sped away, turning busy streets into a chaotic scene.
Any rail traffic going to be to the next gate, 10 Laurel Canyon Boulevard for D and 367.
While refusing to stop, he exited the highway near Colorado Boulevard, becoming trapped inside a business parking lot with no escape route. Ramirez sped through a locked metal gate, turned the SUV.
Hey, we need to talk. When you're driving, we're watching. We see you guys like fun. But touch up your makeup. You're always sad.
Pay attention.
So why don't you? We appreciate you driving us everywhere, but we get worried sometimes. Our safety depends on you. Depends on you. Any rail traffic going to be to the next gate, 10 Laurel Canyon Boulevard for D and 367.
While refusing to stop, he exited the highway near Colorado Boulevard, becoming trapped inside a business parking lot with no escape route. Ramirez sped through a locked metal gate, turned the SUV around, and abruptly accelerated toward the pursuing officers, deliberately crashing into two police cars with officers inside and a civilian truck. As officers approached, the confrontation escalated. Ramirez again accelerated the SUV toward the officers, resulting in two separate shots involving police. Even after being shot, he continued driving a short distance before the damaged vehicle finally came to a stop near Edenhurst Avenue. He still refused to surrender, barricading himself inside the vehicle as officers surrounded the damaged SUV with their weapons drawn. Investigators later confirmed the DWP vehicle had been stolen. Ramirez was arrested and survived his injuries, subsequently charged with assaulting police with a dangerous weapon. 3 officers were injured in the violent confrontation, ending the relentless chase in a dramatic and explosive manner. Just before 8:25 p.m. Wednesday, a Michigan trooper stopped a red Kia in Niles for a faulty brake light.
Oh, they got you? Okay. Put your hands behind your back for me, okay? You got a warrant for your arrest. For what? For a simple assault. Put your hands behind your back. No. I'm not. No. I'll take it all the way there. I'm not going. Okay, I got one fight. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you, stop. I'm not going. Stop. For what? This is assault. Where? For assault. Get out of the crowd.
The driver, 32-year-old Joshua Ringel, was found to have an outstanding warrant and quickly became combative. After being tased, he pulled a gun and sped off toward Indiana.
Watching this video. So this is a newer channel. So I'd like to, so when I go to subscribe, I'd like to go to the channel. Alright, so hold on, let me just see. I was just watching this video. So this is a newer channel. So usually before I subscribe, not always, but sometimes, I like to check out the channel before I subscribe to it to see what other videos they have on. So it looks like there's a lot of other police videos. Looks like it's mostly police videos. And then it looks like one of their first posts was, says that should be me. Justin Bieber, that should be me, fan music video. Beautiful lyrics. And that is a good song. This is on Chase Cam Pursuits. So that's interesting. So this whole channel is all 130 police videos, and then there's 3 videos. Interesting.
So this is a newer channel. So usually before I subscribe, not always, but sometimes I like to check out the channel before I subscribe to it to see what other videos they have on. So it looks like there's a lot of other police videos. So it's mostly police videos. It looks like one of their first ones. This that should be new. Justin Bieber, that should be new fan music video. Beautiful lyrics. That is a good song. This is on Chase Campersons. So that's interesting. So this whole channel is all 130 police videos among those 3 videos.
The pursuit continued into South Bend. Around 8:40 p.m., Ringel struck a police vehicle deploying stop sticks near the intersection of MLK Senior Drive and Marion Street that fled on foot toward the St. Joseph River.
So this is a newer channel.
Multiple agencies launched a search using drones, K-9 units, and SWAT. Ringel was later found deceased at the base of a river embankment. The female passenger was not arrested, and one trooper sustained minor injuries but is recovering. The chase unfolded on Interstate 57 after Jacksonville police called for emergency assistance for a vehicle speeding south near Keel Avenue. The suspicious vehicle sped along the highway, and Arkansas State Officer Dwayne Niles moved into position to intercept it, while members of the task force monitored the vehicle's movements via radio. Minutes later, the pursuit accelerated westbound on Interstate 40. With highway traffic, Officer Niles closed the gap near mile 153 and acted. In a decisive moment, he executed a tactical maneuver, causing the suspect's vehicle to spin sharply to the left before skidding into the median and coming to a stop.
Hand down. Open the door. Open the door. Hand down the door. Open the door. Hand down the door. Go to the ground. Go to the ground.
The driver, identified as Levar Ellis, was apprehended without further incident. The search of the vehicle based on credible evidence uncovered fentanyl inside, and Ellis was subsequently handed over to agents of the Drug Enforcement Task Force as the damaged vehicle was towed off the highway. On May 9, 2025, Officer Gunnar Bolts pulled over near mile 5 to check a temporary Tennessee license plate, but within seconds, the stop had turned into a high-speed chase. The Altima sped down the shoulder of the highway at high speed, weaving through other vehicles as the driver desperately tried to escape. Officer Bolts quickly closed the gap before executing a decisive TBI maneuver to bring the Nissan to a halt before the danger escalated further. The driver, identified as Reginald Bell, later admitted he fled because he thought there was marijuana in the car.
Yeah, when people get so just about work,
Bell was wanted for
it's
assault
so
in
weird
Memphis, and a search
when
of the
people say,
alcohol
"Oh,
revealed a gold-plated 9mm tried gun barrel in the glove compartment, along with .45 ACP ammunition in the back seat. A convicted criminal with prior convictions for aggravated assault, illegal possession of weapons, and fleeing after a crime. Bell was apprehended following a brief but chaotic federal chase.
There's just something about simple snacks done really well. These are officially coming to every house.
Until August got injured, I'd never heard of Fisher House. It made it very easy to be there to support my brother.
On April 7th, 2025, a silver Nissan Altima appeared to be peacefully stopped when a traffic officer from Arkansas pulled over. But as the officer stepped out, the driver immediately accelerated and sped down the winding roads near Highway 335. The Nissan ripped through sharp turns and narrow lanes, swerving recklessly as the driver desperately tried to escape. At one point, he slammed on the brakes to stop officers from performing a tactical maneuver, then whipped the car around and drove straight toward the patrol unit. The pursuit grew more dangerous by the second, but the troopers stayed locked in, waiting for the perfect opening. That opening came near Wyatt Drive. In one decisive move, the patrol unit slammed into the Altima, sending the Nissan spinning violently and ending the chaotic pursuit. But even then, the driver refused to surrender. Kareem Malik Bolton jumped from the wrecked car and ran across nearby property before troopers caught him, ending the escape for good. As investigators searched the scene, the full picture emerged. Roughly 170 grams of marijuana discarded along the pursuit route, more drugs inside the car, open bottles of Fireball whiskey, and nearly $2,000 in cash recovered after the arrest. In the early morning of December 28, 2024, a dark blue sedan sped through the streets of Little Rock, pursued by Arkansas State Police. The driver ran red lights, sped through intersections, and reached speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour on the highway, dangerously weaving through traffic. The pursuit shifted off the highway at the Woodrow exit, where the suspect attempted to disappear into nearby residential areas. But as the sedan turned onto a side street, Officer Riles seized the opportunity and executed a decisive dip maneuver, rear-ending the vehicle, causing it to spin violently and lose control. The sedan spun nearly 180 degrees before crashing head-on into a utility pole with great force. The impact broke the pole, sending high-voltage power lines crashing onto the road. Amid the chaos, the driver jumped out of the car and disappeared into the residential area before police could reach him. The scene was cordoned off due to fallen power lines, while support units and K-9 units were deployed to search for the fleeing driver. The wrecked sedan remained trapped under the severed power lines. a dramatic end to a violent chase that lasted all night. On July 11, 2022, Corporal Tyler Van Schoik of the Arkansas State Police was moving into position to take over a chase. Ahead of him, a gray SUV carrying 2 suspects had fled from Little Rock police, heading south on Highway 367. The warrant had been given to end the chase as quickly as possible, but cautiously. The chase continued into rural roads, stalling for time, but not much. Ahead lay a more populated stretch of road, with grocery stores, banks, even a daycare center. Continuing the chase would be far more risky. Van Schoik waited, observed, then saw an opportunity. With the road straight and the space clear, he pulled in and executed a precise bit that sent the SUV veering off course, crashing into a utility pole, sending dust flying. A few moments later, it was over. Both suspects were arrested and faced multiple criminal charges.
No, I didn't see it.
With the road straight and the space clear,
I was in Downward Dog.
a precise bit
I didn't see it.
veering off course, crashing into a utility pole, sending dust flying.
Shavasana. Did a good job. That was perfect. Good thing I pulled. Did you see that? Watch. You see how he jerked it too when he went over to get over quick? How you could almost jig it? See, you can almost, yeah, you barely see it. Because if you just try to go in one swipe, you can put yourself into a tailspin. But if you jig it a little bit, it goes over much smoother, more solid. Yeah, I see that. Wow, that was good.
A few moments later, it was over. Both suspects were arrested, faced multiple criminal charges, ending a chase that nearly turned out to be much worse.
was a smooth operation. A smooth operation can have some crashes.
It looked like a Hollywood car chase. But this was real. On February 21st, 2024, in Escambia County, Florida, police and helicopters pursued a Wisconsin-plated Audi convertible in a wild, high-speed chase that left even veteran officers stunned.
Now listen to it. Don't start that again.
I said, so what you want to do? What you want to do? Don't start that then.
The driver blew through red lights, took sharp turns at over 100 miles per hour, and nearly caused several crashes. When he swerved into oncoming traffic on Molino Road, officers held back and relied on aerial tracking.
The sky, it's had that peachy tint to it since yesterday.
With public safety in jeopardy, police executed a precision PIT maneuver, flipping the Audi through the air like a stunt gone wrong.
Yes, we did watch this.
That's a good pick, good pick.
Miraculously, 24-year-old Patton Guat walked away unharmed. His luck ended there. He was arrested at the scene and now faces multiple charges, including reckless driving and fleeing police. Hey, adrenaline junkies, welcome to Police Karma. Today we're...
Susan Collins was the deciding vote for Trump's Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe v. Wade.
I am living my dream. A dream that I had no idea was my dream until I started it.
Hey, adrenaline junkies, welcome to Police Chase. Today we're kicking off a brand new series. People mess with the wrong cops, where every dumb move instantly triggers justice mode. Alright, let's dive in. Nashville, Tennessee, May 12, 2025. Metropolitan Nashville police officers encountered 29-year-old Tadarius Milan Hunt on a downtown bridge one day after he allegedly shot a 44-year-old Nashville Rescue Mission employee. The victim, who had previously barred Hunt from the premises, was shot multiple times and remains in critical condition. wanted for attempted murder and considered armed and dangerous. Hunt was located on Division Street near 8th Avenue. He opened fire, striking Officer Clayton Lewis in the leg. Officers returned fire, critically injuring Hunt during the exchange.
Victor Davis looks so funny.
Nina Biano, she said something. I couldn't quite believe that. She got her master's in theater arts at Yale, and she said she had never read the Odyssey before. And arrogance too. How can somebody graduate from Yale and is a graduate student in the humanities, in theater arts, and then say that she has never read the Odyssey, but she knows as she starts to read it for the first time that it is sexist.
Well, hello ladies and hello gentlemen, and welcome to Victor Davis Hanson in his own words. I'm Jack Fowler, the host. You're here to get some wisdom from Victor Davis Hanson, who is the Martin and Ely Anderson Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institution and the Wayne and Marsha Busky Distinguished Fellow in History at Hillsdale College. And if you can see by Victor's hat, he is a senior contributor with the Daily Signal, which is the home not only of this podcast, but Victor's other 4 times a week show, Victor Davis Hanson in a Few Words. Victor's website, The Blade of Perseus, is found at victorhanson.com, and please do subscribe. It's $6.50 a month, or discounted $65 for the full year. When you do that, you can read the exclusive articles and videos that Victor does for that site. Plus, you'll find the links, Victor's various books, including the forthcoming The Counter Revolution, The Fall and Rise of Donald Trump and the MAGA Movement. Today is Sunday, July 12th, 2026, when we're recording this particular episode. Victor will be up on Bastille Day, July 14th. I always found it weird that the French glorify a day of
letting out criminals.
Criminals, and they're like, wow, this is a day that if the Democrat Socialists of America ever take over, like they'll probably transfer. Yeah.
It's Folsom Prison Liberation Day.
Little Rikers, according to Mayor Mondami. Little Prisonerville. We have some important topics and timely topics. One is Lindsey Graham, the senator, Republican senator from South Carolina, passed away last night. Mitch McConnell is in a state of who knows what. Various stories still about Graham Plattner and about Tyler Robinson, and of course about Iran, which we seem to be back at a full-scale, well, I don't know about war. Their ability to project wars far weaker than ours, but they're still projecting something. Anyway, well, let's start off with Iran, and we'll do that when we come back from these important messages. Hey folks, you know that males have inherent athletic advantages over females, and no one should be punished for recognizing that truth. And guess what? The U.S. Supreme Court knows it too. Just days ago, the court ruled that under both the U.S. Constitution and under federal law, states are free to protect female athletes. That means girls can compete on a level playing field in 27 states. Now we must fight to ensure the remaining 23 states stand up for safety and fairness too. That's really important for girls like Kaylee Keeler, a high school wrestler in Washington State who was sexually assaulted by a male during the middle of a competition. No female should have to experience what she did. Sign Alliance Defending Freedom's petition to protect female sports now. Visit joinadf.com/Hanson or text Hanson, Hanson, to 83848 to add your name to their declaration and side with truth and fairness. That's joinadf.com/Hanson or text Hanson to 83848. Folks, we're back with Victor Davis Hanson in his own words. Victor, Iran, I think I'll just say Iran. Tell us.
Yeah, I don't think we want to return to talk, tit, tat. I know that they're being disproportional, but they're apparently not disproportional enough. So when Iran shoots 50 missiles at tankers, Kuwait, Oman, UAE, and then we say, well, we're going to hit 120 sites, and that would be mosquito boats, launchers, missile drones, that's not enough. Someone took out, as we told our audience, that key bridge to China. That is something, but I hear that maybe it might have been somebody other than the United States. Maybe one of our Arab allies was so frustrated about getting beaten upon that they did it. But it's time, I think, to isolate Iran. Or you should just go home. You should go home but I would first isolate Iran, and apparently what we're doing is not isolating them. And there's a lot of things we could do. We could, I said, make sure that they don't have port facilities on the Caspian Sea, and that way they could not trade with Russia. Make sure that that rail line that goes all the way to China is not operable, whether it's by bridges or taking out depots or something. And then I would just say, what are the key bridges in Iran that the military counts on? I would do that. I don't know why we haven't sent the B-2s back in, and maybe we're out of bunker busters, and take out Pickaxe Mountain. I know it's deep and it's supposed to be impenetrable, but they're working on it. Apparently through surveillance, they're there all the time, and we could just do that. So there's a lot of things that we can do. We have to get out of the box. Just to hit this base launch, we hit the launchers. No, that's not. We're going to have to do something so they don't want to launch. And they're escalating by hitting more targets, and we're just replying. We're not preempting. So we should tell them, I think he said they had a deadline Saturday, but apparently that came and went. So what I would suggest is that you pick targets that they don't think are sustainable, that they're not just mildly disproportionate. In other words, if you took out a big grid, maybe, I don't know if you want to take out the generation power station itself, just take out one and then see what happens. And then tell them, you want to keep doing this because this is what's going to happen. And, I mean, they're openly calling for the assassination of the President of the United States. And we've already arrested people who've done that, and they know that we've had 3 assassination attempts in which the Secret Service fired at the shooter 3 times. And so it's no laughing matter. So I suggest, if you don't want to just leave, that the present situation is just burning time right up to the midterms. And much better would be not to talk about it, not to get on Truth Social, not to say anything, but just say, if you do this, you're not going to like what happens. The first time they do it, I would take out a power grid. The second time I would do it, I would take out more key bridges so that they can't operate. The third time I would do it, I would get from the Israelis, who are all these people in the Revolutionary Guard, where are they stationed, operating, and hit that. And I think you get their attention.
Yeah, I'm glad you said tit for tat, Victor. It doesn't seem to be a strategy to win. I think I'm just a layman, but it's like we'll scare you into submission.
They know that.
It's different than winning.
They know that. They think it's a strategy to contain the price of oil and the midterms, so that everybody says we're not engaged in war. But they're going to drag this out all of July, all of August, all of September, all of October. So you might as well deal with it now. And we've given up some really, we had too many concessions to the Turks that we wouldn't get the Kurds. We should start arming the Kurds. We should start transferring arms to the people, and just make it known that they cannot continue the way that they are doing. And so,
where's the ghost of General Sherman, Curtis LeMay, Patton, Grant? What would they do?
Well, we know what they would do. They wouldn't be blanketly killing people, but they would target places. Curtis LeMay, he dropped over 11 million leaflets and said, please evacuate these cities because you've dispersed your industries into residential areas on the presupposition that we are not going to attack residential, but once you put factories there, we will do this. And he did. And I think Trump should just tell the people of Iran, our war is not with you, but you are captive, just like the Israelis are, of a radical Islamic cabal. And just like the Israeli hostages, only you're 93 million people. And you make it difficult for everybody in the Middle East to live, and for people who want to do commerce there to do it. And you've killed too many Americans too many times, and we're going to unload on you, and you don't believe us, but we're going to do things that you would not believe. And we're going to shut down your ability to produce oil, to have an economy if you don't stop it. And then I wouldn't take out all of the oil facilities, but I would make it impossible to unload oil on Carg Island. And I think you could do that with docks, cranes, everything, ports, and then there would be nobody going in there for them, and they would have no currency whatsoever. And if you cut off their commerce by the Caspian Sea and by rail, they would have you'd have a complete blockade. They couldn't do anything, and I think it's past time that we do that.
One last thing, Victor. It seems there's less of mindset of, we're dragged into this by Israel or blaming Israel. I think the fact that, as you mentioned, that Iran is trying to assassinate the President of the United States wants to, I don't think that comes as any surprise, but I think that takes the edge off this.
Well, I think everybody realizes that the Candace Tucker narrative, if that were a true narrative, Israel would be joining in right now. And that why is not Iran attacking Israel? Israel is not being attacked, and the Gulf states are. Does Tucker think that the Gulf states are more antithetical to Islamic Iran than Israel is? Why does he think Israel is not being attacked right now? Specifically, they have been told through back channels they will but not be targeted. And the answer is that they will reply disproportionately. And they have the names of most of the the Revolutionary Guard leaders, and they don't want that to happen. So they're not hitting Israel. They're only hitting American bases in the Gulf and the Gulf states and tankers. So no, it's our war, and but it should be a reminder that when you hit them very hard, they don't want to hit you. Our attitude should be, we want to have the same status as Israel does for our bases in the Middle East. In other words, it would be a very stupid thing for you to hit our bases, just like you consider it stupid to hit Israel, because you're afraid of the type and the nature of the overwhelming response. And that's what we have to remind them.
Mentioning Tucker Carlson, and a little bit me, Victor, and we're going to talk maybe on this podcast, this episode, or the next one, about Candace Owens and this cabal of public right of center, or used to be right of center, people with, let's just say, access to grind, and that upsets some people that we talked about them, but these people have significant audiences and are influential in their way. And so, back on Tucker Carlson, here's a headline from Mediaite. Tucker called for Ambassador Mike Huckabee to be fired on Saturday because he did not publicly defend Ro Khanna, the Democrat from California, who was detained by Israeli quote-unquote foreign terrorists. So this is what Carlson wrote on X. An American member of Congress is threatened by foreign terrorists carrying American rifles backed by a foreign military paid for by American taxpayers, and the U.S. ambassador to that country says not a word in defense of his own countrymen, and instead uses his social media accounts to promote his own VID cable news appearances, which amount to propaganda for that same foreign country. It's too much, too insulting and humiliating to America. This is how revolutions start. For the sake of our nation, Mike Huckabee should be removed from his post immediately.
Well,
I'm not.
Take a deep breath, Tucker, and ask yourself right now, how many Christians were slaughtered the last month in Nigeria?
Oh gosh.
How many were slaughtered? Tens of thousands. Thousands. I haven't heard him say one word. How many Christians, there's a good article about it today, how many Christian young girls daily are kidnapped by Pakistani Muslims in Pakistan and then taken from their families to be claimed as, I guess, bounties or treasure or booty, and then married off to elderly Pakistani men and converted forcibly. And that trait has been exported to Europe. So when we talk about grooming gangs, all these people in Pakistan are doing is something that they think is approved by Islam. And it is, because it's practiced with impunity in Pakistan. I've never heard Tucker say a word about that. Not a word. He used to complain about radical Islamicism taking over Europe. And so there's all sorts of things that are going on in the world that are, I don't know, they're attacking Westerners, but he seems just to focus on this one particular area. And
I think it's payback too for Huckabee. I mean, Huckabee did not embarrass Huckabee in that infamous interview they had. I think Mike Huckabee's doing a fine job as an ambassador.
Yeah, I think he is too. But Ro Khanna went into the West Bank and he didn't even inform the IDF. He just went in there, and then he went into an area that I guess was under security, and there was a bunch of tough, young Israeli settlers, and they confronted them and who knows what. But it wasn't the IDF under the orders of the government that did that. They when they found out that he was there, they went in and stopped it. Why doesn't Ro Khanna though? So he wants to go into a battle zone or an occupied area. Why doesn't he go into occupied Lebanon, that's controlled by Hezbollah? And better yet, don't tell him you're coming. Don't tell the Hezbollah people. Just fly into Beirut and drive over, and then it will say, currently occupied or controlled by Hezbollah, and go in there and not tell them where you're going to go and see what happens. And then give a lecture about how unfair it is that we are supporting the Lebanese government, or that money that we give the UN has gone to Hezbollah. Just go do that. See what happens.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd come out alive. I really don't.
I think he also passed on the opportunity, I hate to call it opportunity, to meet with the families and victims of October 7th.
Yeah, he didn't do that. He's also hurting because nobody knew anything about him. Nobody cared anything about him. I'm not trying to be, mean to him, but he was just a non-player. And then he started mouthing off about all these oligarchs, and he got onto the Bernie book vernacular. Billionaires and millionaires, and he put his little toe into the socialist waters, and he found that this is kind of nice. So he thought he was just going to be Ro Khanna, a working guy who came from India, his parents, and all of a sudden we find out, he's married to one of the very wealthy people in the United States, and that his wife drives a $190,000 Range Rover, and his 2 kids are already deeded golf courses, and that he's a multi oligarchic millionaire. And so here we go again. It's the same thing. Graham Plattner. Oh, I'm just gonna fight. He gave that talk on that little podium with fight oligarchy. I'm thinking, well, maybe your mom's elite restaurant that buys your oysters are your only client, or your father's friend who gave you this little island to work out of, or your prep school. That seems very oligarchic to me. And then maybe, we could say to Mondami, you seem to be oligarchic. You're from a settler colonial family in Uganda that has 60% of the wealth with only 1%. You keep talking about the 1% of Wall Street people and thinly disguised anti-Semitic tropes that control New York. Well, your Indian community controls Uganda, and you were the beneficiary of that. So why don't you talk about that?
Amen. Hey, we'll talk about him on the next episode and his Mondami's segmenting of New York into little this and little that. But first,
I was very upset there was no Little Sweden.
Little Sweden? Yeah. There was a little, there used to be a Norway section of Brooklyn, but there was actually around St. Ephraim's and Bay Ridge. There was a big Norwegian area once upon a time. Okay. to our listeners and viewers. You know, just a few years ago, if you told someone you were stocking up on emergency food, they would have called you a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, but not anymore. We've all seen supply chain chaos, devastating natural disasters, inflation, war, civil unrest, and preparedness has gone mainstream. And that's why we're very excited, so excited to partner with My Patriot Supply, America's original Patriot preparedness company. Right now, they're celebrating America's ongoing 250th birthday with one of the best deals they've ever offered, $250 off their best-selling 6-month emergency food supply. Available now at preparewithvdh.com. This is the exact same survival brand trusted by over 3 million American families. Why? Because they deliver 2,000 calories a day. Their food lasts up to 25 years without refrigeration, and it contains no GMOs or artificial colors or flavors. And you can count on it to keep your family fed no matter what happens. Even at the full price, it's still the best decision you'll make for your family, and with the $250 discount, it's a no-brainer. So go to preparewithvdh.com to get your emergency food kit today. That's preparewithvdh.com, and we thank the really good people from My Patriot Supply for sponsoring Victor Davis Hanson in his own words. Victor, we have two senators to get your take on. Let's start with Lindsey Graham, who passed away last night. It seems maybe of a heart attack. He was at his home in Washington. Emergency vehicles were called, etc. But any reflection on him, Victor, his values, particular values and strengths, the arc of his role within the conservative movement? Your thoughts?
It was kind of evolutionary. He'd been a senator for 20 years, but he was you remember he was in the, I guess it was the Air Force Reserve. He was in Iraq. I was embedded twice there, and I remember at my place I was staying, watching a TV, and he was in a bulletproof vest, and he was out with his revolver. Remember that? And he was in Iraq, I think 2006 and 7. So he was a hawk, an interventionist. He was very strong on Israel, unshakable. His high moment, I think, came during the Kavanaugh hearing. People have remarked about that. His lecture damning, I don't mean that in the pejorative, I mean the obscene things, but he really offered fire and damnation to the Democrats. Especially he singled out Chuck Schumer and Dianne Feinstein, who really cooked this whole Susan Blasey Ford caper up about Kavanaugh. And he had this ability to just lose his temper and go completely wild, which was effective. And so he got a lot of, and he was a very effective person on the talk shows. He was a McCainite. That was his guy. They were closest friends in the Senate, and they were, I guess you would call them, conservative interventionist hawks. And they butted up against the MAGA movement. And at that point, when Trump won, McCain gave no quarter. In fact, he was so angry that he was the vote after campaigning against Obamacare to be reelected. He then was very ill. He had, I think, a metastasized tragically melanoma, and he went in and he cast the deciding vote that ensured the survival of Obamacare. But Lindsey Graham, after McCain's death, he kind of became more confident, more muscular, and he was more of an internationalist. I guess his critics would call him a globalist. He was a big hawk on Ukraine. His rhetoric about Ukraine was on to Moscow. He was a staunch supporter of Israel. He was a staunch supporter of the war with Iran. And he came in 2016-17, after being a candidate for just a short time in 2016, he came completely around and became one of Donald Trump's staunchest supporters and explicators. So
I seem to remember some ad with Lindsey Graham's cell phone being thrown in a blender or something. I mean, it was kind of comical. He had a good sense of humor, no question.
He did, and he was kind of droll. And I met him. He came out last summer, I think it was, and they asked me to introduce him. and I did in Fresno. He was out in the valley. He had strong connections with it. One of our friends.
A friend.
Yes, and then also agribusiness, and so on. He would help people raise funds from the agribusiness community. And I talked to him. I wonder what he thought of me, because at the time he said, "You don't look too good." He was kidding. And I had lung cancer. I didn't know it, but I was told that I had, something else. But I didn't think. The point I mentioned is I didn't say anything, but I didn't think he looked good. He looked very puffy, like that kind of steroid face. So that was kind of ironic. I was thinking, gosh, I hope he's not ill. He doesn't look well. And yeah, he was probably saying, this guy Hansen, God, he didn't look well. But it was a weird moment. And I was kind of worried about him because I didn't think he looked well.
Yeah. Victor, as you know, there's a conservative movement that's pre-2015 and post-2015, and it's kind of hard to project back into, but the old days. National Review had him on the cover, and I think Byron York wrote the piece, but he was really thought of as the most troubling, maddening.
Was that because he voted for people like Sotomayor and Kagan for justices?
Yeah. Also, there was always you thought this one guy who was not reliable. Prior to him, Orrin Hatch was like that. People thought, that they were generally solid conservatives, but if you thought someone was going to sell you out or kneecap you from your own side, it was going to be him.
It was kind of like Mike Lee for a time, right? Orrin Hatch. Or Mike Lee was more predictably conservative.
Oh yeah, Mike Lee from the get-go was hardcore. Yeah. So Mike Lee he knocked off an incumbent, Bennett.
Yeah, I like Mike Lee a lot. Orrin Hatch was a close friend of Ted Kennedy for some reason, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. There are Republicans like that. They're hard, but he moved beyond that role that he played with McCain.
Right.
Sensitive mouth and gums? Ever heard of Closest mouthwash? Your dentist and hygienist have. They know Closest is ultra gentle for sensitive mouths with non-burning mouthwashes that freshen breath, improve gum health, and strengthen teeth. Closest, the gentle mouthwash for sensitive mouth.
For warm homes and hot meals, you need energy that handles it all. Natural gas delivers versatile energy that keeps Maine moving. Summit Natural Gas. Comfort delivered.
What fucking time is it? It's time for work.
Everyone, meet our new dishwasher. See if it lasts more than a week.
Yeah, I can cook too.
You could be anything you want.
Right. Well, once upon a time, more cross-aisle friendship, etc. He may have been one of the last vestiges of that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but
I think he was. I think he had a consciousness because when the Democrats whipped all that Me Too stuff up about Kavanaugh, the polls were not good. They were 50-50, and he bucked that, and he was a strong supporter of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars when they were not popular.
Yeah.
He was he didn't care that there was 57% of the people wanted the memorandum of understanding, and otherwise they were against the war. He was for finishing it. He really stood up for Israel. I think he was one of the top 5 senators that support Israel in the U.S. Senate. Seems to me.
Netanyahu put out a very conciliatory or sympathetic statement on his death. Well,
and most of us think that people pass away in their 70s and 80s, like Mitch McConnell may or may not. They get a gradual state of debility, but to have somebody who just flew back from the NATO summit and from Kiev, and then just get back the next day or two, and was scheduled today as we speak to be on television, and had confirmed it, and then just to drop dead, essentially. It's quite a shock. Reminds everybody of our mortality, but he must have had prior cardiovascular issues, because he didn't look well when I saw him a year ago, or not even a year ago.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Mitch McConnell in a minute, but first, to our listeners and viewers, I want to talk to you about Hillsdale College's The Odyssey campaign. So for nearly 3,000 years, the great books of Western civilization have shaped the way people think about courage, honor, war, duty, family, leadership, and self-government. Homer's The Odyssey stands among those great books. It's the epic of a homecoming, exploring, enduring questions about loyalty, temptation, kingship, marriage, and the good life. That's why Hillsdale College offers free online courses on the greatest works of the Western tradition. These free online courses are taught by Hillsdale College professors and draw from the same great books and enduring ideas studied on Hillsdale's campus. In Hillsdale's newest free online course, The Odyssey, Professor Benedict Whalen guides students through Homer's masterpiece as Odysseus struggles to return home to Ithaca. You'll explore the trials, temptations, and choices that have captivated readers for nearly 3,000 years and discover why Homer's epic remains one of the foundational works of Western literature. Homer's epic has inspired countless works of literature and invites readers to consider some of life's permanent questions: courage and prudence, loyalty and temptation, homecoming and glory, and what it means to live a good life. Start right now with Hillsdale College's newest free online course, The Odyssey. Go to hillsdale.edu/VDH to enroll. It's totally free. Read the classics, study the West. Start right now at hillsdale.edu/VDH.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing to do, everybody, because we have the Christopher Nolan coming out on the 17th. The Christopher Nolan, and it's got all this controversy, which I think Jack and I are going to talk about just for a second. Sammy and I did just for a little bit. But Professor Whalen is part of that wonderful classics department at Hillsdale. It's for its size. I mean, given the enrollment, it's it's not a huge campus, and they have I think it's 7 or 8 classes. And he's the son of Dave Whalen, who was the wonderful provost, second in command, that was really helped Larry Arndt make that one of the many people who helped, but make that campus so preeminent. And it would be, I think, every time I would go to Hillsdale, and I went 21 years, and I hope to be well again and go back. But you go into the bookstore, and there it is, Homer's Odyssey. It's not essays in feminist oppression. And there's no classes with dash studies on them. They're all literature, philosophy, history, etc. And but he's a good teacher. He's a wonderful teacher. He's a good scholar. He comes from a wonderful family, and his family name is synonymous with Hillsdale's excellence.
Yeah. If we were transported back 50 years, Victor, I wonder how many, not even college students, high school students may have read some of the Odyssey, may have read the Iliad, knew who Aeneas was, knew who Agamemnon was, and would know these great characters from classical literature. But my gut tells me if you're entering Harvard, this is news to you. Well, actually, what you were talking about with Sammy on the most recent podcast, the actress who's the star of the new movie is totally, and she's a Yale graduate.
Yes, Lupina Nyong'o. She said something. I couldn't quite believe that. She got her master's in theater arts at Yale, and she said she had never read the Odyssey before. And she's 42, and I thought, well, how is that possible to come out of her undergraduate institution? I'll remember in a second, was excellent. She went to Yale, but I taught 21 years at Cal State Fresno Humanities 10, Introduction to Western Humanities. We started with Homer, so I would either have the Iliad, but mostly I taught the Odyssey because it was much more of an adventure story and easier to understand for most students. But I think I had 50 students, and I repeated in the spring semester. That was 200 a year. So, 100 a year, and for 10 years that would be 1,000. So I had 2,000 students at Cal State University taking that class, and most of them were from families below the median income, and most of them were either part of the poor Oklahoma diaspora or Mexican American, first or second generation, or from Southeast Asia during the influx after the Vietnam War. So my point is, they weren't from old families, or they weren't at a privileged institution. So, and yet they had experience with the Odyssey, and they were very good students. And then I taught that maybe we would rotate our Greek. I taught that in Greek maybe 5 times. So when I hear this actress and she says that she has never read it, well, that's okay. But then she starts opining on what's wrong with it. And she says that it doesn't have enough feminist characters. And I thought to myself, well, let's count them up. Who's the main character? Let's just look at the male characters. Well, we can get rid of 20 suitors, and people like Antinous or Eurymachus, they're awful, and they're portrayed that way. And how about Odysseus' own crew? They're wild, they're mercurial, they do things, don't eat the cattle of the sun, they do it. Circe turns them into pigs, blah, blah, blah. How about the male gods? Well, Zeus, it seems to me, and Poseidon are vindictive and mean, and it's Athena who is the patron of Odysseus, and she is the calm, wise, stern woman. Maybe she represents someone Homer knew within his own experience as sort of she's not very sexual. She's called the Parthenos. That's a very rare Greek noun.
With barbaric elves.
Feminine, but she's a virgin. But she's all over the Odyssey. And then, of course, the piece de resistance is Penelope, the loyal, dutiful, but not sulking little housewife home. Where's my husband? No, he's gone for 20 years, and her attitude is, I'm going to use all my brilliance to outsmart these stupid men, and I'm going to weave a rug every night. Finally, they gave me no choice, but as soon as I get done with this weaving project, I have to get married to one of them, and they'll steal the whole sustenance of the palace of Ithaca. So I'll just undo my weaving every night. And then when it's time to see, finally, she's the one that comes up with all of these tricks about the shooting the arrow with Odysseus. They shoot the arrow through the axe heads, and then they finally get reconciled. She's the one that wants to test him. Why don't you move the bed, dear? I can't. Don't you know that? It's an olive tree. It's rooted. Oh,
it's
yes,
like taking the Grim Reaper out of the Grim Reaper.
And then there's the wily Circe.
Right?
What a witch! But she's proud. Maybe Homer saw one woman like that.
Oh, and look at that! Little Miss Muffet has entered the scene.
Pigs are pigs.
Okay, so it's not the
Men
Grim Reaper
are
anymore.
chauvinist pigs. I'll turn into pigs with my supernatural powers. What are you talking about? And then maybe when he sees Calypso, he finds a woman. Maybe Homer knew a woman that just said, I'm going to stake out my own 40 acres. I don't need anybody. I'm completely independent. And that's Calypso. She has her own island, and she basically makes Odysseus her sex slave for 7 years. And he cries at he goes, oh, I want to go home. Please let me home. No. Get back in here. I got to service you. That's basically the crew.
That's what I wanted to.
No, and then she's told by Hermes she has to let it go. And then the big controversy, Jack, is she plays 2 roles, and the popular press have it wrong. And that is, she plays Helen and Clytemnestra. And they say, why does she play 2 roles? That's well, they were a funny group because like King Agamemnon and Mycenae married Clytemnestra.
Kind of stretched bubbles.
And his brother Menelaus of Sparta married Helen, the sister of Clytemnestra.
Kind of
so she is playing 2 sisters. Where we get to the controversy very quickly is that she's described in the Odyssey as fair-skinned and the most beautiful woman in the world. And so people have said, well, she's not the actress that is playing the part is not fair skin. It's a deliberate effort not to make the actress look like what Homer intended. And then the controversy hit, and it's so multifaceted. Do you think people who do not look like the character that was intended by the producer, director, screenwriter, or novelist should look that way, or is that a appropriation of their intent? I.e., Shakespeare has Othello. Was it wrong for Sir Laurence Olivier to play Othello?
Yeah.
Should it always be James Earl Jones? Because he is black, he's more of a Moor. Is it wrong for Audrey Hepburn? Remember the Unforgiven, Jack? John Huston Western, and she played very unconvincingly, she played a Native American that had been kidnapped. And then there was, I think Burt Lancaster and Charles Bronson made a sub-career playing renegade Indian heroes. Is that wrong? If you think it's wrong, people of color have said it's wrong because they took roles that could have gone to people of color. And then you want to say, well, are those roles, their being Indian, is that essential to the role? So is Cochise or Geronimo or whatever, was he an Indian nationalist? If he is, it seems to me if you have Indian actors, that might be more convincing. And I'm looking now at some of the great movies that we've seen that had actual, I mean, Little Big Man had actual Indian authors, Indian actors. So did Clint Eastwood's, that movie. I'm trying to remember.
Not Hang 'em High.
No, it was
one.
It was. I'll remember it in a minute.
Not the outlaw Josie Wales.
Yes, the outlaw Josie Wales. He had that famous actor who was Native American.
Right.
And so there's a lot of them. I could go on. It's just a question is if the race of the actor is essential to the play, and without a portrayal of that, it affects the content.
The sheriff is
then you probably should have that type of person in that role if you can. But if it's incidental, it doesn't really matter.
Dock this
or
drink.
if it's incidental, but it would
Day's
make
pay for laying down on the
if
job.
you portray Alexander Hamilton as black, and there's
I was
arguments
just doing
that
lines
he
from a
was
Mel
at least
Brooks
part
movie.
black, it's legitimate. But if you portray George Washington, and that would be too jarring.
Hopefully
Just
it's
as
not
it
too
would
out
be
of place.
too jarring to have a white
You
Martin
can't just
Luther
use
King,
that as
I
an
think,
excuse to
portray,
say
or a
vulgar
white
things.
Muhammad
Got
Adams.
it from a movie.
And we get into
They're
the larger
using the
question of
movies as an
appropriation.
excuse.
I don't know why.
You're just singing a
I
song.
saw YouTube the other day where blonde girl had dreadlocks, and then a black girl walked up to her and said, "Take
Face
those off."
down, ass up. That's
What's
the
the
way
difference
we
in
like
that
to.
than black women wearing these blonde wigs that are very
What
popular?
did you say? I was
They're
just thinking a
appropriating.
song.
So whatever they
So do we
whatever
have to
you
get rid of
decide
the
on
music
cultural
or learn
appropriation,
time and place?
and portrayal, you have to be consistent.
2012
so
Enigma.
If people of the black community are
I really
angry
hope
that
they help the
people
children and hostages here in
are
Augusta, Maine
complaining
soon.
that, Lupita
Yeah, my name's Mary,
is,
Governor Hill Mansion, Augusta, Maine. My youngest two children are in the hands of sick murderers, pedophiles, and they've been abused for years, and these things need to be addressed. And the public needs to be educated as to how they've gotten away with it, the confusion.
the person who was assumed to be black
I know,
by
it
the
helps.
was played by a white person.
For those situations to be explained helps for others to kind of drop a lot of the ignorance and just laugh at themselves or forgive themselves for not knowing or acting in good faith, just kind of misconstrued information. Yeah, this has gone on for so many years with different cases and things. It's actually really incredible
I haven't seen it. That's another thing. I'm
to
very
still be breathing and
careful not to
witnessing
comment. Everybody's
anything
commenting,
going
but the
on
movie's
here
not
on
out yet,
planet
so we
Earth.
don't know the effect on it.
But looking forward to your 5-star review or no star
Yes,
review.
yeah, I am too. I know the poem very well. It's written in Greek hexameter verse, and it's what's unique about it. It's the second major work.
Do I
of
plan on
Western
leaving the
literature
planet
after
soon?
Homer's Iliad.
You
It's
never
about
know.
40 or 50
Like
years
when you
after.
die,
We
is
can
that
tell by
technically
the
you're not really
style
leaving the
of
planet?
the philology.
If you want to think of your body
theater,
as a planet
and some of the
or a
allusions
planetary
to
system,
things that are going on in the Odyssey that seemed later than in the Iliad.
part of
it's
you
the
has
change
died.
of scenery. It's just a different scenery. It's all.
But
over
there's part of that
Mediterranean
planetary
world.
system that remains,
But,
right?
It's
Could be dust.
You would think that the other thing is.
Your smell. I can
This is
still
the-
smell
I
you
think Matt Walsh
in the
was the one
blankets.
that people reacted to the most. He said that she wasn't the most beautiful woman in the world.
Oh my gosh,
The
this was the
actress.
cup they drank out of.
Well,
The last
Helen
cup
was the
still
face
has
amongst
their
a thousand ships.
DNA on the
yes.
cup. Oh my
so I
god.
guess you would want somebody, our version of Ava Gardner or Elizabeth Taylor. Or Heidi
Memories,
Lamar
they're
or
memories
somebody
of
like
you.
that.
Yeah.
Thoughts.
Hedley, oh, she's gorgeous.
They were all. I mean, they would have
What's
to have
left?
black hair that reflect, and they would all have been beautiful. But anyway, it's.
Well, I don't want to ask you something. By the way, I can't believe Ava Gardner was married to Mickey Rooney. I think that's comical. But
The body kind of decomposes and kind of does all that stuff that it does. The awareness, the consciousness, your memory.
It's totally untrue. You graduate from college.
It's gone, right?
Even with a master's, and I don't think you have to.
I
be
mean,
in the
even when you're
humanities
alive and it's
necessarily.
here.
But certainly you're going to know
Where is
the
it?
essence of Western civilization. And I would say most
It's
people
coming from
graduate
somewhere,
and have
and being
a clue
stored
of the great works
in
of
part of my
Iliad,
brain.
Odyssey, the Bible,
How do I access
Cervantes, Beowulf,
different
the Gulliver
information?
Tales, Divine Comedy.
It's
Yeah,
really
novels
neat
of
to
this
think
section.
about
They
actually,
don't- yeah.
and just
They
human
don't know.
connections.
Which is good. One of the things that Hillsdale.
Sense of loss, whether that be a person or an object or a job. It could be just a sense of loss.
What Hillsdale and its emulators.
Right, you got to
have
learn
done
that's
is
part of
basically
life,
have said,
and that helps you from
you're
not
supposed
getting
to
too.
have a natural interest of
Okay, yep, that
self-awareness,
happens.
self-learning, and
What's next?
self-expansion.
Let's go out for
And you're not
nachos.
getting that in these universities.
Right, you know,
You're paying
there's
a lot of
different
money and going into a lot
kind of
of debt,
situations. You just
and you're
lost
getting
your job.
ideological,
You see this scene all the time, and they wind up in the bar.
race, sex,
What am I
gender,
gonna do with my life?
politics. We
You know, they show
what-
it all
what
the time.
The point of these classes is it's
I know,
not
it almost just
disinterested
becomes a
productive
character that
reason.
people
So
are
what Hillsdale's
playing.
saying is, do whatever you want. Sell insurance. Be a cop. Be an electrician. Be a plumber. But you can still be just as well, if not better, educated than people who go to school at no cost. Just take some of our classes, and you'll be fascinated, and then read, and you'll be a better citizen. But you don't have to have a degree. And I think that's very important that we stop saying to ourselves, that person doesn't have this degree or that. There was an argument for that 20 years ago, but there isn't now because the degrees are worthless in many cases. And I just don't. And you can see that how can somebody graduate, and there's an arrogance too. How can somebody graduate from
Right, to
Yale
be able to be in a
and
space
is
of
a graduate
acceptance to
student
what is.
in the humanities,
And know that
in theater arts,
life goes
and then
on.
say that she has never read the Odyssey, but she knows as
It
she
can be hard
starts
to have the
read it for
strength.
the
Sometimes
first
it feels
time
impossible
that
to
it
carry
is
on. You
sexist.
just
And that Homer,
so sad and
she
at a
has no
loss.
idea who he was. If
And you
I
almost
said to
feel
her,
plagued that
"Question
forever
A,
for the rest
Homer
of your
sat in a Greek hut
consciousness.
and wrote out on papyrus
Yeah,
the
that
entire
happened.
Odyssey. Or section B, Homer was an oral bard. who
When there's a
composed
loss, it seems more heavy
several
hit, right?
Odysseys.
Yeah,
He
that
probably
happened.
did it
And
each month. And this
sometimes a
particular
sense of
version
loss,
was one
depending
that
on
was
what
the
it
most
is, it might not be a big
persuasive
deal.
and was
Yeah,
copied
another
when
speeding
writing was
ticket, big
introduced
deal.
sometime.
For some people, that might be great. How am I going to buy groceries for the week now? And they get really upset and pissed off and kill themselves.
She has no idea.
That happens.
I'm not asking for that level of expertise, but just some humility. Don't just
Humility, amen.
And when you look at the character of Penelope, or you look, if you took all the characters of women.
Oh, I know.
in
That's
literature,
not anything any
the
of you
deceiving,
have to worry about.
Fox, the loyal, brilliant wife.
You think
the
they're getting it yet?
Liberated,
Or-
sexually libertine.
Oh, you're not going to do anything.
independent
Awareness would be good.
the kind of
We have
crazy,
children here in Augusta, Maine,
irresistible
Governor Hill
woman
Mansion. They've been
that
fucked and tortured for years, and the child and animal pornography being fed
kind of
out to our
Margaret
military,
Thatcher,
police,
strong,
feeders,
wise,
chasers,
powerful woman.
activists.
you don't really
targeting
associate
people. I'm pretty sure we've been trying to bring
sexuality
awareness
with
to
it.
this
She's
for
not
many
a-
years. It's been
that
quite a
is kind of a
lovely
thing.
nightmare.
How about the
We're
young
very lucky,
idealistic
yeah.
woman that wants to help?
Fortunate.
That's Nausicaa.
Could be a lot worse.
And how about the, this is going to get people mad. How about the creepy type people who paint their hair purple and then they go out to the ice raids and they scream and yell and they get in the face of working class Mexican American ice agents, stick their tongue out. That is the sirens and the Scylla, the six-headed monster.
It's my Congresswoman, Rosa DeLauro.
Yeah, Rosa DeLauro, she would be a very good Scylla. Yeah. Or she wouldn't be a siren, because I don't think anybody would be captivated by that voice. Scylla would be kind of, if I were going to do it and I was going to have Scylla, I would have the six-headed monster. One would pop up with Rosa. The other would be...
Hey, good morning.
Oh, Rosie O'Donnell. That would be another one. Another one would be Whoopi Goldberg.
Faces that launch 1,000 ships
Yeah.
for different reasons.
Joy
Very insightful.
Behar would be another one. But that would be Scylla, but they wouldn't be sirens because no one would want to hear them and wreck their ship on the rocks if they heard them.
I reckon that was the
So
alternative.
if you said, I'll say to Lupita, if you wanted to write an early epic and make women powerful and who even destroyed men, either through their virtue or through their cleverness or through their venom, you couldn't find a better array of characters, whether it's the sirens or Scylla or Penelope or Calypso or Circe. They're very powerful, liberated women. It's very unusual. You don't see them in contemporary Hesiod's works and days. And in fact, you don't read them, you don't see them in Simonides, you don't see them in other lyric poetry, almost contemporaneous. So whoever was Homer was quite unusual.
Well, Victor, we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we are going to get some juice out of the never-ending orange of Graham Plattner. There's still some really interesting stuff to get your take on, and we'll do that after these final.
One decision that I
Hello again, all you wonderful people. I'm out in the countryside. The rain is threatening somewhat, hence my attire. But